Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I think the West is living in denial, or at least part of the West. A few countries, I think, they live in denial that they can win against Russia. That is, they think that eventually they will have Russia somehow lose in Ukraine if they keep the war going. I don't know, something will happen in Russia, the people will go and strangle Putin, or Putin will just succumb to whatever illness and STD or whatever, and things like this, or they're going to have a little revolution in Russia. This is what they're betting, because they know on the front, the military, they cannot win the way things are right now in Ukraine. They can bring everything they got in Ukraine to fight the Russians except nuclear weapons and personnel, and they will not win. Ukraine, with its very limited number of people to fight, even with the weapons coming from the West, they will not be able to go and push the Russians out from where they are right now. On the other hand, Russia has the potential to do it. I don't think they want to rock the boat in Russia, and therefore they are just hoping that the West is coming to its senses and realizes that there's no way these guys will win in a fair, square fight as things are right now. You can provide F-16s, F-50, F-1000, F-3000, and Abrams and Abrahams and whatever, Lincoln if you want, whatever tank you want to provide, you will not win over there. Why? Because if the Russians are using conventionally, they will use nuclear weapons. So anyway, let's put this aside. It's just they try to grind the Russians down and all that. But we have at least one leader in the West, and a so-called monolithic West, which is the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. And he's saying out loud what many other leaders are thinking and knowing, which is Ukraine cannot win against Russia, or Russia cannot lose. He made this statement again, and he says, as much as I feel for the Ukrainians, as a reasonable person, I cannot see the Russians losing, or as a politician, as a pragmatist. So let's see, I picked 3 articles. They say the same thing. One is from the two are from the Americans and one are from the Russians, saying the same thing. And in the statements, not the interpretation of the statements, obviously, but I don't care about the interpretation because I can interpret them myself. I don't need a weasel from New York Times to tell me what I should understand from Orban's statements. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. And let's get going. Here we have this article from Bloomberg. I'm sorry, this is USA Today. I thought I would jump to Bloomberg. And it says, emotionally, it's tragic. I'm quoting, Ukraine will lose war. Ukrainian leader says. So it says here that Orban, speaking at the Qatar Economic Forum, argued that sending further military aid will only lead to more deaths. Hungary is a member of the European Union but retains close ties to Moscow. Orban, I think, retains ties to its own people's interest. That's each and every country should look first for its own people and then for the rest. Like you care for your family first and then for mine, if you do. Orban has repeatedly balked at sanctions, claiming that they are domestic hardship. They are a domestic hardship. They won't expedite an end to the war. And I'm quoting here, emotionally, it's tragic. All of our hearts are with the Ukrainians. End quote. Orban said at a Bloomberg-sponsored event. And I'm quoting again. But I'm talking as a politician who should save lives. There's no chance to win this war. Now, this is one. The other one I will go to Bloomberg. Again, Orban says Ukraine can't win war as he justifies veto on aid. Well, he says like this, we keep providing them with weapons, we get deeper in the debt, the inflation goes higher, our connationals, our people are going to be hurt by that, and we're still doing that, and the Russians will not lose. This is his statement. And he said, no, we will not do this, because it's like a losing game here. It's going to be like the 11th, the 12th, the 1000th round of sanctions against Russia, and you say, oh, next one. Why didn't you start with all 100 from the very beginning? So again, Bloomberg, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban dug in his heels over crucial European Union crucial. What about the other ones? Were not crucial? When the European Union, these weasels, implemented the first set of sanctions, didn't they think that that first one is going to make the Russians go home? Otherwise, why did they do it? Do you think they did it with the intention, we're going to have 10 more? Do you think that's how they thought? They said, no, we're going to do this, and it's crucial. Now, if the Russians somehow do not collapse, Russia does not collapse, we're going to go to the next one. When they did the next one, the second one, didn't they think now they might collapse? They didn't. They went to the third one. So they all were crucial, and all of them thought that this is going to kneel Russia. So you're at attempt number 11. And Orban says, guys, how many are we going to have? How much more do we have in our sleeves? And that's going to affect our people as much probably as the Russians, but the Russians adjusted. The Russians are with the Indians, are with the Chinese, are with the big world out there. These guys, unfortunately, and I'm not talking about Orban, think that they are the center of the universe, which to a certain extent they are the center of the planet. But they are not, they can't beat the planet. They've been doing it for some time. And right now they're just opposed by the other guys. And they don't want that to happen. Why would they? And they're eager to use the Ukrainians in this one to try to prevent their hegemony from stopping. That's the whole thing here. If you think it's something else, well, good luck. But I think time will say I was right. I'm 99% certain of this. I can't say 100% because always there's a chance, that obviously you make a mistake and all that. Why do you think that's only 30, 40 countries on this planet that really fight against Russia in Ukraine? And not the rest of the world, because the rest of the world are stupid or something? All right, so let's get going and see what else these guys are saying here. So again, emotionally it's tragic. All of our hearts are with the Ukrainians. Orban 59 told Bloomberg, there's no chance to win this war. Hungary, the EU nation with the closest tie to Russian President Vladimir, is blocking 500 million euros, $550 million. That's nothing compared with 130 billion dollars that eventually Ukraine will get by the end of this year. What is this? This is half a billion. It's nothing compared with those guys. A tranche. You know what a tranche is? That the tranche is one of installments. So that's one of them. That means another one will come, another come, another come. Where is this coming from? Where is this tranche do you think is coming from? It must come from somewhere. I understand these guys type numbers and they make money. I understand that one. But in the end, that has to be accounted. And that will be accounted for certain entities, like the European Union, the European countries. That number will show. So even if that was made out of nothing, and they bought weapons and they sent it over there, whatever they did, someone is going to pay for that. Someone is to account for that. Who do you think that would be? Do you think it will be Biden? He's dying. He's 90% dead already. Who do you think is going to... Kamala Harris is going to pay for that? And her brother, husband, whatever? Do you think they're going to pay for it? Or maybe the Obamas or Trump? No, it's going to be you and I and our children and our grandchildren. So think about it. And let's go now to the Russians. So we know what these guys have to say here. The same. Ukraine can't win against Russia, Orban. The ongoing conflict is the result of diplomatic failure and should end through negotiations, Hungarian Prime Minister believes. And I'm quoting, it's obvious that Kiev can't win the war against Moscow, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has said, urging for a diplomatic solution to the crisis instead of the West continuing to pour military aid into Ukraine. The Prime Minister made the remarks in a Bloomberg interview. Okay, and the same here what he said about this thing. And then he says, Hungary views the ongoing hostilities from a special angle that differs from the mainstream European position. Hungary itself is losing lives daily as well due to the conflict, Orban explained, referring to the members of Ukraine's Hungarian ethnic minority that have been conscripted to fight Russia. He abstained from condemning Moscow for the invasion of Ukraine, stating only that the hostilities were due to a major failure in diplomacy. And I'm quoting, the position of Hungary was from the very first moment that this war is a failure of diplomacy. It should have never happened. For us, it's obvious that the battlefield solution does not work. So I said it on many occasions that the war should not have could have been avoided. Some interest did not want that. And everybody points at the Russians and their unprovoked attack. Well, that's living in denial, and that is, not trying to solve a problem. When you try to solve a problem, you try to get all the information, you like it or you don't like it, and then you work with the information you get, you come to a solution, and then you solve the problem, or you try to solve it. And if you can't solve it, you go back and you analyze what you tried with a solution you thought you found, and you adjust, and you come back and you try again. These guys are not even trying. They think this is the end. That's it. We have to fight Russians. We have to do this to Russians right now. There's no other way. Well, that's not how you and I do if we have a problem. As I said, you try it, that doesn't work. You try something else. You adjust. You add. You take out. That's how you do it. It's like building a house. If you try to do something, it doesn't work, it collapses. You think about it, analyze it. Why did it collapse? I take into consideration that. What happened? Oh, maybe I should try this one. Okay, let's try it. Try it again. Those guys are not even trying. They are doing the same thing. We're going to decimate you. That's the whole thing. We're going to decimate you. And they live in denial. That is, we're winning. Look at 99.9% of the media in the West telling us every day and every night Ukraine has been winning and the Russians have been losing since February 24, 2022. Now, just look at the map, my friends. I mean, you can't say that's a loss. If you consider winning, the Russians were supposed to win in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's losing, but still, look out on the map. And not only on the map. Look at what the West has to do and had to do. Now, if you thought with the first transfer of, juveniles, to the Ukrainians, you thought you're going to win the war with that. Well, you didn't. And then again, you sent armored vehicles, and you didn't. And you had to send howitzers, and you didn't. That means you were losing. You needed always to adjust, always to add to something that you were not succeeding. So when these guys were telling you they were winning, why do you add? Why do you bring tanks? Why do you bring long-range missile systems? Why do you bring fighter jets? Why do you bring volunteers? Why do you bring all this? Why do you put all the sanctions again and again? That means the initial things did not work. So you were losing. So you had to adjust, add. So you've been losing. Otherwise, you would have won so far with the first juvenile that you would have used, or the condoms or the helmets you sent. With the first round of sanctions, you should have stopped right there because you won. And you've been saying you've been winning, but you kept upping. That means you are not winning. How logical? How else you want me to explain it? Anyway, my friends, Orban knows that, and he's the only one saying it out loud. And he's the bad sheep of Europe, and that's it. Europe, Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea. That's it. This is the world. And not whole Europe. Some European countries, maybe 3. The rest are just dragged along because they don't have balls like Orban. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.